back to Moturd. It's been quite a while since I've done a real episode, so I'm gonna catch up on a few things. We got a new van. This was a while ago, but we were totaled in an accident, so I've done some things on this, not too terribly much. Probably do a transmission fluid drain and fill video. I did a coolant flush and fill, or I guess drain and fill, kind of. So yeah, this one has been pretty good. It's an all-wheel drive, so it's nice when we get the snow. But I did pick this up, 2012 WR450F. I like it now, but I still have the Honda. I will be selling that soon. I think I'll do a track day retrospective and then get that thing sold in spring. Anywho, sorry, I keep getting distracted here. So the WR, I think it's pretty low hours. Just because it has this doesn't mean it does not have an odometer. So the numbers you see on there, start button over there, kind of interesting. It's got a clock, not an hour meter, and 2 trip timers. So if somebody says, oh yeah, that's the mileage, no, that is fully resettable. So and it does have obviously miles per hour there. When I first bought it, I think the guy had warmed it up first, and silly me, I didn't start it the next day when I came back. And I got it home, and it was super hard to start. Anyone with a 2012 WR450F in the USA, not so much Australia from what I understand, but will understand that the 2012 first year of fuel injection on these, no carb, first year of this was terrible, especially starting cold and especially starting at altitude. And if you don't know, I live in Reno, Nevada, so obviously at altitude, a little bit less than 5,000 feet where I am. And then Peavine Mountain behind us goes way above that. So I ride in mountainous terrain at elevation. The service manual for these will even say, just giving you a little detailed view here, that's why I think it's low hours. It's not super beat up or anything. Everything's pretty clean. Anywho, the service manual does say starting at altitude and cold is difficult, and specifically to use the Kickstarter. Okay, well, I also had a few other issues which I will go into, and how I got this thing starting pretty easily now. Okay, so since I kickstarted it earlier, it generally will always restart with the electric starter after it's been run for any length of time, pretty much even at altitude and in the cold here. So on button, your cold start knob is right down here. I'll give you a close-up of that, but you're going to pull that out towards you. I have also rotated it counterclockwise as far as it will go, because that is your idle adjust as well. So there's the cold start knob right there. You need to push it in before you twist it left or right, and it's really hard to get in there, especially with big fat hands and fingers like me. But I've rotated it all the way counterclockwise, and then it doesn't pull out very far once you do that, but it will pull out a little bit, so be sure you do that. And it's just a habit. I will always pull the clutch when I'm starting something, no matter what. So, electric starter will pretty much always work, even in gear. So yeah, from what I understand, once it's been started once per day, basically is what I've found. It will pretty much always start easier after that. So before you buy, this thing gets cranking hot at the exhaust right here. So just if it's been run at all, you'll probably, recently anyway, you'll probably be able to feel some amount of heat. You could take a thermometer along, I suppose, too, but it's very easy to tell if it's been run for any length of time. And, you know, check for heat around here, heat, heat, heat. It gets hottest right there. So just check for that, because if someone's trying to dump one that's a hard starter, granted, I will show you how to get it easier starting, but that'll be a trick. If they start it even once, even earlier in the day, way earlier in the day, it'll always start easier with the electric start. So let's go over what I did to make it easier starting. So everything basic on here is pretty much 10 and 8 millimeter that I've run into so far. So if you're going to bring some sockets, bring those too. But there's a bolt here and right here to take the seat off. I suppose you could check the air filter first because it is side excess. If you see a bunch of oil in here, which, gosh, there's still quite a bit in there. It's hard to get it to focus, but there's quite a bit actually, and I filled it up to the correct amount. So the breather for the engine comes out right here. So if your engine is overfilled with oil, which apparently mine is, but it's interesting, I filled it up to the exact specifications. So anyway, I guess I did tip it over. Okay, once you have the seat off, just lifts like that. You can get in here. He had recently changed to one of those super lightweight batteries, so that was nice. I think to kind of try to help him get it started easier, but anyway, you will need to take the tank off too. Okay, you got a flashlight so you can see in here. You see some oil residue left over, and that is because if you overfill these, the oil overflow, which you can see right there, kind of pointing to it with the flashlight, from the engine goes there. So when people overfill these, which I'll show you how to check, makes them hard starting, and they'll just start puking oil out the breather there. Okay, so the little tip goes up right here. So the first thing you're going to check, obviously, the air filter. You should do that anytime by motorcycle, but check if there's oil in there, check the air filter. It's easy to get to. It's the side access right there. Okay, so next thing you do is check the oil. Okay, so to check the oil, just up here, left side of the bike, this right here is the dipstick. Okay, the service manual does say to idle it for 3 minutes. I'm not going to worry about that for right now, but on the kickstand, go ahead and take your dipstick out. Wipe it off, obviously. Then they want you to check this level, but do not screw in the dipstick. You place it gently there, and then take it straight out, which, see if I can get this to focus here. Okay, so as you can see, after all that focusing, it's on the lowish level. I'm not going to worry about adding any right now, but if it's way over, it'll be readily apparent. And I guess where a lot of guys mess up with these is they have 2 drain bolts. So they're doing an oil change and they just drain one, you have to take off this piece here. There's one under on this side, and then there's one on the other side towards the back as well. So you need to drain both of those, and guys will just drain one, fill it with the correct amount, and then yada yada yada. And you can also take this off, because on the kickstand no oil should come out. So what I did is just found a bolt that's just that size, put 2 nuts on the other end, and now I have a little wrench to take that out. I didn't get any of the tools with it, maybe it came with, but so that's 2 things so far. Check the air filter, check the oil level. Easy things you should always do when buying a bike anyway. Now you need to take 4 bolts out on each side. 1, 2, 3, 4. Do that on each side, and then we can take the tank off. Okay, once you get those 4 out, hold backward like this. This is the main thing holding it in up here, here to here. Okay, and then you take this pin out right here, then you can take this out, and you take this bolt out right there. Here's a washer. Okay, and the gas tank will come off, and I found to wrap around the little, well, oh yeah, I forgot it's 100% full too. I just went out riding. Okay, so you can kind of, this is how I strap it. Yeah, it's not ideal. Probably technically too much weight, but whatever, it works. Loop around there, loop around there. These are the connections going in right here. I've taken them off and on a couple times, doing the fuel filter, which I'll show you how to rebuild as well. And here is your ignition coil and the spark plug right down there. So somehow, previous owner, oh look, there's moisture in there, look at that. So these are not super watertight. Let's take a look at it. Let's see what it looks like. Wow, still looks pretty lean. But on the good side of lean, I guess. So, yeah, there is some corrosion starting here. Interesting. So, the first spark plug from when I bought it was all corroded through here. And as soon as I threw a new spark plug in, man, it ran so much better. So I think what I'm going to do is slather some dielectric grease all over this. See what happens. I don't know if this is what you're supposed to do, but I'm going to try this because I don't think it's really going to hurt anything, so to speak. Don't want to get it down towards the actual sparky bit, but let's try that. Remember, don't go crazy with spark plugs. Okay, so I just wiped this down as best I could. Okay, so we're gonna try that. This thing was so clean. All this mud is from me, from my last ride. This thing was practically spotless. So even though when you wash it, plenty of mud is still left in here. Oops, I think I forgot to. Even though plenty of dirt gets left in there, it is allowing water into here, so be careful on that. That's interesting. Second time I've dealt with that. So anyway, change out the spark plug is the next thing to do. Then, if you're still having issues, you can, once that is out, and sorry for the focus there, you've got the 6 bolts here, undo them in a cross pattern as much as possible. That's right there. This doohickey goes towards the fuel cylinder unit, which is up here. And then the whole fuel pump assembly comes out. Be careful with the gasket there, but this is the fuel pump assembly right here. You can take the fuel pump out. Okay, I'm going to show you how to take this apart pretty easily. All you need is a flat-bladed screwdriver, preferably one with a pretty thin tip, and then you need, this is what I found works the best. I got this from Hobo Freight in another, had 4 picks for like, I don't know, $2-3, something like that. So get a right angle pick like this. The 90-degree angle one I found is the easiest for this. Okay, I'm going to try to film and do this at the same time. It is also handy to have a smaller screwdriver, but it's not 100% necessary. Basically, we need to get this piece off first here. So, I'm going to pry that like that. And find the other side here. Pry that up and push. And then I like to pull from this top piece. That comes out. If you're having hard starting, you can just take it apart that far and try to spray in here. That's what I did at first, but didn't quite work, so that's why I'm getting the whole new fuel pump. Okay, that's the easy part. Okay, I'm going to try to do this with a bum wrist and while allowing you to see everything. So basically, we're trying to get this whole piece of plastic up here. Goes all the way up there, goes down underneath here. Yeah, it's all in there. So what I've done, oh, we also need to disconnect the 2 connections up here. If they're giving you a little guff, just do that and kind of bend them out of the way. I'm going to do it in a way where we don't have to cut this, which is nice. Okay, I find this one closest to the filter housing to be the easiest. I just slide this in here, bend it. It's not going to come far. See how in here, yeah, let's just slip back. See how it's staying, but just barely. Yep, and just click back. So let's try to get this one off next. See, that one we have a little bit more of a gap there. Now let's try this one again. Now you're gonna have to really bend it because it's out. There you go, see? So it just slipped past there. Now you could leave a screwdriver in here if you want to be really safe, but I've found that you don't need it. Now, from this angle right here, we're going to take that 90-degree pick and slip it underneath. See if I can get you the perfect angle there. See how I'm getting it in between the plastic right next to that clip. And then I'm pushing up. And then I'm going to pull as I'm pushing up, and that just unlocked it out of place there. Now it's still a really tight fit. And there you go. That's how to get the fuel pump out. Once that's done, you can pull it straight out like that. You'll see that I replaced this right here. Oh, wow, it's already got some crud in there. Luckily, my new one comes with another filter, so we'll get that done. But that is how to remove the fuel pump there. And we're also going to replace the regulator, but we'll get there soon. You can either get a quantum fuel pump kit, which I would just recommend. Oh, I'm leaking gas. I would recommend the quantum fuel pump kit because you get extra filters and a pump, and it's not that much money. So I would recommend getting that. Okay, so once you've got your fuel pump back in, you can put the tank back. Whoops. Okay, once you've tried the oil, air filter, fuel pump, and spark plug, once you've tried those 4 things, you have the nuclear option, so to speak. So back here, you'll find a little connector. It has this over the top here. I find sticking a tiny flathead in right there is the easiest to remove it. And I guess I'll show that to you now. Your flathead in there. And then you get out the cheap Chinese FI diagnostic tool. Okay, as far as I know, that's the only place you can get them now. I actually ordered from 2 places, dhgate.com, which I do not recommend, total scam. The one I got from them was broken actually from the factory, so to speak, wherever the heck they make these. But this one worked, so I'm going to show you how to do this. First thing you do is you get your connector side, and it's got this triangle connector. That's not the right one. You only care about this blue wire right here. So what I did was just put a little solder on there so that it's stiffer. Oops. See if I can do this without dropping anything. And you need connection to the battery, so keep that free. And you're going to stick it in the middle of this plug right here on the connector side. Okay, so blue wire to the middle connector right here. Then you get your power cord. Okay, get to, if I could do it, get to your negative. And your positive. Okay. So now this is what the screen says. So you're going to hit down, and then you're going to hit down again for special functions. C1 mixture, so you're going to adjust your CO level only at idle. This isn't going to affect anything else like the power tuner, which I've learned you also cannot get those ECUs anymore, but anywho. So you're going to say M for adjust, which is mode. Okay, so ignition switch off. So you need to make sure you're fully off up here. Then push the, well actually, oh sorry, almost forgot this inane procedure. Ignition switch off, then press M to go. So you're going to press M and it's going to say waiting for ignition switch on. Now you're going to push the button and the screen will change. Okay, so if it hasn't been messed with, it will say 0. That's what mine said. C1 of 0. If you're at altitude or you're having issues, any of those things, what I recommend is starting with 8 and then working your way down. So I'm down to 6 and it's starting second kick every time, no matter how cold, and obviously always at altitude. So once you do that, you can hit return, but you're pretty much done. So you can just disconnect the power like that. Take everything back off and connect this. Put your connector back on so it's waterproof, and it was actually tucked down kind of back in here, but I kind of like to leave it up here. I did take the snorkel out, as you can see. Usually there's 2 little plastic things right here. I don't know if it's really helping at all, but I did it, so I guess we'll see. Okay, then put your seat back on. Okay, once you've done all that, it should be pretty easy to start up. So after I made the video the other day, I was having a hard time starting it all of a sudden. I hadn't changed any settings, couldn't figure it out. I went for a ride and it was hard to start at first, but then was mainly okay-ish, not as good as normal starting on the trail, but was running just fine. And the only change I'd done is I took out this baffle right here. And after I just put it back in, it's starting up just fine. So I think you're creating more problems than it's worth. I didn't notice a humongous power gain or anything. I think you're creating more problems by taking that out, actually. Everybody online will tell you, oh yeah, you gotta let the bike breathe, blah, blah, blah. But I don't think so on this case. So maybe if you had a power tuner, maybe, but starting is affected by the idle, and that is only changed by the FI diagnostic tool I showed you. So I actually really wouldn't recommend, unless you're going to change out the exhaust completely, I wouldn't recommend taking that baffle out. I think it's not, the juice is not worth the squeeze, so to speak. I'm also going to put the snorkel back in and see if that changes much of anything. I think that's why I had some water in the air box, because I didn't have those in. So I'm going to try them with them in again and see if there's a huge noticeable difference. But anyway, just wanted to make this little bit of video after I learned about the exhaust baffle, and that you should probably keep that in. Anyway, thanks for watching.